This little cutie is my original free pattern for a cat with big paws and a bendable tail. It's by far my most popular pattern. So in addition to this free pattern, available on my site and on Ravelry, you can watch this video tutorial. Links to everything are in the description box. In parts 1 and 2, we created the head and ears and embroidered the face. In part 3, I'll show you how to create this oval-shaped body. I'm Susie Diaz, and together with Miguel Guerra, we create comics and webcomics at 7robots.com. I also love creating handmade toys, and crochet makes it easy. I'll share my patterns here so you can follow me step by step. Welcome to Parasol Geek, Crochet Edition.
Bisous, bisous!
To start, you'll need your favorite hook and yarn. I'm using a 3mm hook and some DK weight yarn. We'll start by creating a magic ring. Wrap the yarn like so around your index and middle fingers to create an X. With the hook, go under the first strand, hook the second strand, pull it under the first and twist. Now yarn over and pull the hook through the first loop on your hook. And there you go, you have a magic ring. Add 6 single crochets into the magic ring, or if you're in the UK, double crochet. To add your first single crochet, insert your hook into the magic ring. Bring your hook under the yarn that you're holding and back through the magic ring. Now you have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through both loops. And there you have your first single crochet. Repeat this 5 more times until you have 6 single crochets inside the magic ring. Here's your last single crochet. And we'll just count them to make sure. Okay, and you're going to pull the end of the yarn to close the magic ring. And you have a nice little circle now. And it's time for round 2. From this angle, when you look at the single crochets you created, it looks like a little V shape. For round 2, if you can, my stitches are a little tight, you're going to add 2 single crochets into each stitch around. So insert your hook under both of those loops and create your first single crochet. We'll do that again. Insert your hook into the same stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, and pull through both of the loops on your hook. So that's 1 increase. Let's do this again. Insert your hook under both loops. There you go. And a second in the same stitch. That's 4 new single crochets. Insert your hook, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. Into the same stitch, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through. The next stitch now. So you get the idea. You do this all the way around, 2 single crochets into each stitch until you get to the end. At the end of round 2, your stitch count is 12. For round 3, the pattern is 1 increase followed by 1 single crochet. So add 2 single crochets into the same stitch for an increase. And don't forget your stitch marker. It's important if you're like me and you need to be reminded and you don't miss anything. You can use a piece of yarn, a bobby pin, a safety pin, anything at all. Okay, so that was our increase, and I put the marker into the first single crochet. All right, Now an increase here, 2 single crochets in the same stitch, and 1 single crochet. 2 single crochets, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, 1 single crochet. And this is your pattern all the way around. 2 single crochets, 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets or an increase, 1 single crochet. And at the end of round 3, your stitch count is 18. The pattern for round 4 is 1 increase followed by 2 single crochets. So that's 1 increase in the first stitch, and don't forget to add your stitch marker into the first single crochet. Now you'll add 2 single crochets in the next 2 stitches. Follow this pattern all the way around and I'll meet you at the end. We'll begin our last increase, followed by 1 single crochet and 1 single crochet. At the end of round 4, the stitch count is 24. At round 5, we're going to add an increase followed by 3 single crochets. So 2 single crochets in the first stitch, add your stitch marker to the first single crochet, and this will be followed by 3 single crochets in the next 3 stitches. 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet. Do this all the way around, and I'll meet you back at the end. We're now at the end of round 5, and we're going to add our last increase, followed by 3 single crochets in the next 3 stitches. At the end of round 5, your stitch count is 30. The pattern for round 6 is 1 increase followed by 4 single crochets. So let's begin. We'll add our first increase, which is 2 single crochets in the same stitch. And don't forget to add your stitch marker into the first single crochet. And this will be followed by 4 single crochets in the next 4 stitches. 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet. So follow this pattern all the way around and I'll meet you at the end. Here we'll add our last increase, 1, 2 single crochets in the same stitch, and now 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, and our last single crochet. So at the end of round 6, the stitch count is 36. The body on our crochet cat is just 1 round larger than the head. So in round 7, we're going to add an increase in the first stitch, and don't forget to add your stitch marker. And now 5 single crochets in the next 5 stitches. So that was 1 increase, followed by 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, 1 single crochet, and 1 single crochet. And that's your pattern. Repeat that pattern all the way around, and I'll meet you at the end. This is our last increase, followed by 5 single crochets in the next 5 stitches. At the end of round 7, the stitch count is 42. We've done increases in every round from 1 to 7. Now it's time to single crochet all the way around with no increases. There's our first single crochet, and I'm going to use a piece of yarn as my stitch marker, and that way I don't have to remove it after every round. So continue to single crochet all the way around until you get to round 13, where your work should look like this. To maintain symmetry, we're now going to add decreases. I prefer an invisible decrease. To do this, insert your hook through the front loops only of the next 2 stitches. Yarn over, pull through 1 loop on your hook, yarn over, pull through the 2 loops on your hook. Now you can add a stitch marker, and you've just made a decrease. You took 2 stitches and now it's just 1. Now for the pattern, we're going to follow this invisible decrease with 5 single crochets in the next 5 stitches. I'm going to pull out that piece of yarn since I forgot about it. And now we're going to look at the invisible decrease again. Insert your hook into the front loops of the next 2 stitches, yarn over, pull through 1 loop, yarn over, pull through both loops. And that's followed by 5 single crochets. Do this all the way around and I'll meet you at the end. We're here at the last few stitches with our last invisible decrease, followed by 5 single crochets in the next 5 stitches. At the end of round 14, the stitch count is 36 and your work should look something like this. At round 15, the pattern is 1 invisible decrease followed by 4 single crochets in the next 4 stitches. And if you'd like to see the invisible decrease done more slowly, you can rewind and watch the previous round. So we have our first invisible decrease. Now we're going to add 4 single crochets in the next 4 stitches. Okay, repeat this pattern all the way around and I'll meet you at the end. At the end of round 15, we're going to add our last invisible decrease. Followed by 4 single crochets in the next 4 stitches. At the end of round 15, the stitch count is 30. At round 16, the pattern is 1 invisible decrease followed by 3 single crochets. So we'll again be doing the invisible decrease in the front loops only and add your stitch marker. And this is followed by 3 single crochets in the next 3 stitches. Repeat this pattern all the way around and I'll meet you at the end. Here's our last invisible decrease. And 3 single crochets in the next 3 stitches. At the end of round 16, the stitch count is 24. The pattern for round 17 is 1 invisible decrease followed by 2 single crochets. And again, for a slower version of the invisible decrease, you can rewind to round 14. So here we're going to have an invisible decrease followed by 2 single crochets. And we're going to repeat that pattern all the way around and I'll meet you at the end. This is our last invisible decrease, followed by 2 single crochets in the next 2 stitches. The stitch count for round 17 is 18. Now it's time to add some stuffing. So I'm going to put my stitch marker right there so nothing comes unraveled. And I didn't show the entire process, but stuff it about 80 or 90% of the way. And a good tool, if you have one, is a pencil without an eraser. So keep doing that until you're ready to start the next round. At round 18, the pattern is 1 invisible decrease followed by 1 single crochet. You can add your stitch marker and use your fingers to hold down the stuffing so you don't accidentally get any of it in your stitches. So again, the pattern is 1 invisible decrease followed by 1 single crochet, and I'll meet you at the end. Here's our last invisible decrease followed by 1 single crochet. At the end of round 18, the stitch count is 12. You're almost at the end, so you can add some more stuffing here. Good old pencil without an eraser. Running out of room, so I'm going to remove that stitch marker. Because we're using a lot of stuffing, it may interfere with your hook as you work your way around. So use your finger to push the stuffing out of the way. All you have to do for round 19 is invisible decrease all the way around. And you might have to really try hard to wiggle your hook in there, but no problem, of course. It can be quite a tight fit around, so do your best to complete your invisible decreases. And feel free to squish this into place, to move the stitches around with your fingers, anything to help you. I'm going to leave my last stitch undone, just so I have a little bit more room to stuff. So add as much as you possibly can, squish that in, and when everything is full, I'm going to add my last invisible decrease in the front loops only, of course, as we've done throughout. Now it's time to fasten off, which is just cutting the yarn with scissors. They're off screen, so I didn't show it. And pull through to close off that last loop. And grab a good old yarn needle and feed the yarn through the needle. And then we're going to add a few stitches to close off the ring. There's lots of ways to do this. This is one, but if you find another, I'm sure there's multiple ways. So insert your needle like so. When you've gone all the way around, insert your needle into the center and bring it out through a stitch or through the space. And when you're ready, insert your needle back into the same space and bring it out anywhere you like. I do this a few times to make sure the toy is securely fastened and nothing will come undone, because usually children play with these toys for me, and I like to make sure nothing will happen. So whenever you exit yarn, enter into the same space. Once you've done this a few times, you can pull the yarn tight and then snip it with a pair of scissors. And the fun part now is squishing it until you get it into a nice shape. Et voila! I've gotten a lot of questions on the body versus the head, so here they are side by side to compare. The head is round, the body's more oval. So many people have told me that what they love most about this cat is that it stands up all by itself. In part 4, we'll create the legs, sew them on together step by step. Now if you'd like to create some impossibly cute legs, keep watching. Life is short, so let's create something good. C'est parti!